Hello, boob tube. I'm back. I got 5 more things. I told you last time I was going to be hot on the heels of my last video with 5 more things I've gotten done. And actually, I've been ready to go for days, but the cottage weekend kind of threw off my video making schedule, let's say. I didn't get to do a Transformers reveal this past weekend because I was away. But we got that Stiga video I recently uploaded, and then we got this one. And then hopefully this upcoming weekend, I will get to the next Transformers unboxing. I know who the character is. I just got to do the research and create the video and get it posted. But in the meantime, let's talk about the 5 things I've been up to lately. We got, first up, one book in this session, and it is called Padawan. Obviously, a Star Wars book. This book was released in 2022, and as you can see by the cover, focuses on a younger Obi-Wan Kenobi, not long after he became Qui-Gon Jinn's Padawan learner. So he's kind of suffering with some lack of confidence, some insecurities, because his other friends and his rivals in the Jedi Academy his own age have all been paired up with their masters, and they all seem to be thriving and doing things they like to do with their masters, whereas Qui-Gon Jinn to Obi-Wan seems a little more aloof. All he wants to do is seem to meditate. He doesn't really communicate that much with Obi-Wan, and they haven't really gone on any, missions or adventures. So Obi-Wan's like, ugh. Like, he starts questioning his role in the Jedi hierarchy, and he's like, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? Like, this just seems like nobody needs me, nobody wants me, I'm kind of useless, right? So which is a funny thing, and I've known from other books and other things that I've read that he was a little him and Qui-Gon at first necessarily weren't the best team, the best matchup, but this book really gets into it in detail. So it's hard to reconcile a young Obi-Wan with no confidence and wondering if he should even be a Jedi to the one that he eventually becomes, where he's one of the best ever, right? When he drops in on General Grievous and says, hello there, right? That's fucking iconic. So he decides to go meditate in, I think it was a dining room or something like that nobody really uses, which used to be a library in the Jedi Temple years and years ago, because he likes to be alone sometimes from his other apprentices his own age, to try and get some space and try and focus on what he thinks he should be doing. So as he's meditating in this former library, what is now a dining room, he notices on the ceiling and the walls kind of like a star chart map, and he goes, oh, I've never noticed that before, what is that? And then he kind of follows it to behind this pillar, where he finds kind of information on a planet. Now I forget the name of it, but shit, I should know that, but I can't remember. Some sort of mysterious planet that a former Jedi named Orla Jareni had visited, and left kind of some information in the archives that she was going on a mission there, because there's something mysterious about this planet and she wants to get to the bottom of it, but there's no other entries after that. So Obi-Wan's like, whoa, there's something up with this planet. Like, I think the Force led me to these kind of clues and this information. And so he takes that information to Qui-Gon and is like, I think the Force led me to this. Should we go on a mission and explore this planet? And Qui-Gon's like, dear boy, I think you are correct. We should go explore this planet. And but as they're gearing up to go on this mission, Qui-Gon just keeps being a no-show to Obi-Wan. He doesn't show up. He doesn't meet up with Obi-Wan when they're supposed to already be leaving. And they've also seen Count Dooku, after he's already left the Jedi Order, in the hallways talking about the Jedi being wrong and whatever like that. And so some of the other apprentices are like, I wonder if he's here for Qui-Gon, because Qui-Gon was Dooku's apprentice, and Qui-Gon speaks out on the council, and has been known to be a little bit rogue at times. So Obi-Wan's even wondering if maybe he's leaving the Order. Maybe Dooku's here to pick him up, and I'm going to be masterless, and once again, nobody needs me, right? So he decides to take off in their shuttle on his own. So when he gets to this planet, he can sense something is a little bit weird. The only sentient beings he runs into is this kind of little cluster of teenagers and some younger kids that are kind of living in this wreck of their ship, and always on guard against the planet. The planet seems to be out to get them, and so all these I forget what these creatures are called. They're called not diggers or grounders or something, but they burrow in the ground and they'll go after the kids as soon as they step foot on the ground. These animals will go after them, and it seems to be the same with the plant life, and everything seems to be out to get these kids. So Obi-Wan gets there, but they don't go after him. So he's like, what is going on here? And so as he gets familiar with this group and starts to spend time with them, they eventually ask him to go on a harvest with them. So there's a big gash in the ground nearby where a ship originally crash landed and tore a rift in the surface of the planet. So they go into this rift, and underneath the ground, Obi-Wan witnesses them start taking these blue glowing orbs from underneath this big tree, this cluster of roots for a tree that's growing out of the ground, and packing them up and taking them with them. And as soon as they touch these orbs and take off with them, the whole planet again starts going crazy and tries to attack them. So eventually Obi-Wan figures out, and these orbs give these kids like superpowers, like Jedi powers. So Obi-Wan eventually hypothesizes that like these kids don't have the Force. They're using these orbs, which may be some sort of manifestation of the Force or something, to give them these powers. But the planet lives on these orbs, and so the planet is pissed off that the kids are taking them all the time, and that's why the planet's always kind of out to get them. So Obi-Wan tries to get this across to them, and some of them believe it. Some of them want to stop doing the harvest, give the planet back their stuff, and where others are hesitant and they're like, give up our powers, we don't even know if he's right, like whatever. But then it's complicated by one of the kids' family members, their Uncle Logrib or something like that, coming back to the planet and trying to play the hero, but he's really only out to get all the orbs and take them off planet. Obi-Wan figures this out. There's bombs involved, there's this and that and the other thing, and so it's just a matter of Obi-Wan bringing the kids around to his point of view, and like, I'm speaking the truth. This is what's going on this planet. If you want to stay here long term, you got to stop stealing the orbs and become one with the planet, live in harmony with it. But all of this is complicated by this guy that's come back to basically screw them all. So it's kind of up to Obi-Wan and the kids to make things right, so to speak, with the planet, and hopefully get the hell off of there in the end and avoid any death, injuries, inconveniences, what have you. So really good book. I love anything to do with my favorite characters like Anakin, Obi-Wan, and stuff that kind of fills in some gaps here and there. Like, we know Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan didn't quite get along at first, but why? So it's nice to flesh these characters and their situations out and get a clearer picture of the overall, right? So I read through that book in no time flat. Next up, season 2 of Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling. So if you'll remember from the last time when I did the first collection, the first season, Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling was a cartoon released in 85 and aired for 2 seasons over 85 and 86. The first disc included the first season, which was 13 episodes. The second disc contains the second season, which is, again, another 13 episodes. But these episodes were either like a full half hour or 2 15-minute episodes, so it depended on the day what kind of episode you'd get. In the second season, about half of them, 6 of them were two-parters, and the other ones were all full one-part episodes. The second season was pretty consistent with the first. They probably wrote them all in a row and filmed them all in a row or whatever, but some highlights were my 3 favorites were when the wrestlers all went on a cruise, and they all started getting abducted one by one, so they had to solve the mystery of what the hell was going on this cruise ship. Another one I really liked was similar, but a former wrestler came to Hulk Hogan and his band of merry wrestlers with a problem that his I think it was his hotel or something like that, or his mansion or something like that, was being haunted by ghosts. And so Hulk Hogan and his friends were brought in there to figure out what the hell was going on. And the third one I liked the best, was the wrestlers were all on a train. I forget where they were going, but they got caught up in some sort of plot when Tito Santana runs into this girl, I forget her name, that he really takes a liking to, but she ends up kind of getting in trouble, and some goons are trying to kidnap her or something like that. So the wrestlers get involved in trying to stop these guys from doing that and get to the bottom of just what the situation is, kind of going down there. And but all the episodes are good. It's a pretty quality show. It's too bad it only aired for 2 seasons. I think they could have introduced maybe some more characters, some more of the wrestlers, because it stayed pretty consistent from season 1 to season 2 on the main cast of the good guys and the main cast of the heels. There wasn't really any additional characters brought on and that sort of thing. So now maybe they didn't care. Maybe this was only kind of a quick little experiment they wanted to do just to get more wrestling content out there at the time. But either way, it would have been nice for the series to have gone a little bit longer and featured some more characters and stuff like that. But no matter what, it was a good part of my childhood, as were most of the 80s cartoons, because they were all fucking fantastic, to varying degrees, of course. Now, the next thing up, we're going to start on some games. We got 3 games to end this thing off. The first one that's up, I don't have a case for because it was a download on my Nintendo Switch. And the game in question is, I've played a lot of this series over the last year or two. I didn't even know this game existed until I saw it in the shop one day. Doom 64. Now, Doom 64 was released originally for the Nintendo 64, which you could probably figure out, in the year 1997. This edition on the Switch was a remastered version of it and released back in 2020, I think? Maybe. I'm starting to get all the different years for these things I'm talking about confused. I think it was, or no, maybe it was 2000. Well, either way, within the last few years, no matter what. And the game features 28 levels, and it is the 4th game in the franchise after Doom 1, Doom 2, and then the 3rd Doom game was actually called Doom Final Hell or something like that, and was a compilation of a couple different add-ons to Doom 2 or something like that. I don't remember exactly. I know I played it, but I can't remember because it's been a while. And then so then this game follows that one as being the 4th in the franchise. So now when I started this game, it didn't really tell you what the storyline was, so I had to look it up afterwards. So basically, after the Doom Slayer, known as just kind of a Marine at the time, dealt with all the hell beasts from the first 3 games, the UAC decided to quarantine all sites that had super high radiation levels and just kind of evacuate them and seal them off. And for years, these sites kind of stayed empty, stayed unthreatening after the quarantine, but eventually some sort of satellite that was kind of forgotten because it had taken so much radiation, people didn't even really know it was functioning anymore. It eventually detects this being that was able to resurrect all of the monsters from hell and start the whole situation up again. So once again, the Marine is called in to action to go back into hell, but it was a booby trap. They were asking for this Marine to come back. They wanted to take another run at him, and as you do in Doom, you just go to hell and kick ass. Doom 64, I found, the N64 back in the day had a lot of games that really were like distinct for being N64 graphics. Like I remember Star Wars Shadows of the Empire. It had a distinctive N64 look, with the really sharp angles and weird graphics. Not weird bad, but just different, right? Now Doom 64, I don't know if it's the remastering process from the original Doom 64, but it was pretty slick, it was pretty smooth, and it looked basically just like an updated version of the first 3 games. Very, very similar style of game and gameplay as to the first 3 ones, just a little bit more advanced in terms of the graphics and everything as time went on and things got better, of course. So, but it plays the standard way. You got to go through 28 levels. You pick up all your different weapons, the shotgun, the plasma caster, the rocket launcher, the minigun, the double-barreled shotgun. That's a favorite of mine. The BFG, the big fucking gun, that's in there. And then this game introduced a new one that I don't know if I've seen before. I forget what it's called, but it fires these little skinny red lasers that just obliterate guys. And so that was I didn't use that weapon a ton in this game because I like to save the plasma ammo for the BFG. But that was something that was new to this game that I don't think I'd ever seen before. And everything else too, like getting yellow, red, and blue keys to access doors and figuring out, the puzzle of getting through a level. All very consistent with the first 3 games. And it was a lot of fun. There was some really challenging parts, especially near the end when you got to fight the final boss, which I forget what she was called. It was a female monster, and she had some sort of name, but she was, there was a lot of cursing and a lot of, I almost threw this controller through the window sort of thing. But I've played enough Doom to know that, you just got to keep at it. Don't get too upset. And eventually you'll get it. And that is what happened. But yeah, I've played so much Doom in the last couple of years, the original 3 and now this one, Doom 3, the BFG edition on the PS3, that was played in the last little while as well. And then, of course, I had the games on the PS4 too. Doom Eternal, I finished that. And then Doom 2016 probably kicked the whole thing off. So I've played a ton of Doom over the last 2-3 years or so. And it was just nice to add Doom 64 to the whole thing because, like I said, I didn't even know this thing existed. So that was awesome. But fun game. Next up. When I saw this, I was like, are you kidding me? This is fantastic. And this is what they should be doing more of. Double Dragon Gaiden, Rise of the Dragons. And what I mean by doing more of is resurrecting and keeping going classic game franchises from like back in the 80s and 90s, like Double Dragon. Amazing series. Why aren't there more games? Why aren't there more current games? So when I saw this, I was like, yeah, this is an automatic. Like, I'm ordering this as soon as I possibly can, right? So this game's a little bit different from the standard Double Dragon games. The graphics looked like a cross between the Double Dragon games and maybe like River City Ransom or something like that. It was a little different looking. And also, when you start the game, you have a choice of picking between 4 characters. So you got Jimmy Lee and Billy Lee, and then you've got Marion, who in the Double Dragon canon was, I forget, the good brother in the first game's girlfriend, and that's what kicked that whole thing off, is the bad guys kidnapped Marion. And Billy or Jimmy? I think it's Jimmy. Nah, one of them. Anyways, one of them. That's what started the whole beatdown trek in the original Double Dragon. So she's one of the playable characters, and then there's their Uncle Mateen or something like that. So you can pick from 4 characters to start, and you can cycle between characters as you're playing. So if one guy takes a lot of damage and you want to, get him in recovery, you can swap out to the next guy, sort of thing. So, and when you're playing co-op, like when me and James were playing, I would have Billy and Jimmy, and he would have Marion and Mateen, sort of thing. So you could we each could switch between our 2 characters. But the story behind the game, I should have started with that, but it says in the year 1990X or something like that, there was, a nuclear war or something like that. And so this game takes place in that kind of leftover wasteland where all these different gangs have moved into the turf and just started doing whatever they want and controlling their area of the city, right? So when you start the game, you're out to stop these gangs and get to the bottom of, making the city safe again. So, and you're kind of tasked with doing this by the mayor of the city. And to start off, there's 4 different zones in the city, each controlled by a gang, and you can pick which order you want to do them in. So you go to one area, you clear out that, beat the boss, go on to the next sort of thing. And then in the end, you have to go on kind of a couple of final missions that the mayor asks you to go on until the true villain of the story is revealed, and it ends in the ultimate boss fight sort of thing. So pretty standard Double Dragon stuff. Jump, kick, grab a head, smash it against your knee, throw the guy. Lots of weapons to pick up and either whack somebody with or throw at them. Overall, it's pretty consistent for the Double Dragon series. It's just the graphics were a little bit different, and the storyline was a little bit different, and being able to pick different levels was a little different. There was just some minor differences, but that's not a bad thing, because as long as it captured the fun and the essence of the Double Dragon series, which I think that it did a pretty decent job of, you know, it ended up being a really fun and interesting and quick game to play through. But I'm not done with actually playing it yet, but we made it through the game and beat the story, so I thought I'd review it. But I think I'm going to go back, because there's still some characters you can unlock for play, and I think I want to spend some time doing that, because like I said, the game was so short. I kind of want to play it a bit more to get my value out of it, sort of thing, right? So now, whether that'll actually happen or I'll move on to something else and then kind of forget about it, I don't know. But my plan, my intent at this time, is to go back and keep playing Double Dragon. So if you liked watching those gameplay videos, there might be more coming. And the last up, NHL 23. You knew this was coming at some point, right? We play NHL every year. Released in 2022, NHL 23 is actually, I read, the 32nd game in EA's hockey franchise. So I still remember the OG game, which I have on the Sega Genesis back in the day, and I've mentioned this before, but it created a video game revolution. Everybody I knew had the Sega Genesis and NHL hockey. No matter whose house you went to, or turn on NHL hockey, right? Like, we're in Canada, we love hockey, and that was literally the best hockey game I'd ever played, was that original NHL hockey by EA. Just fucking nuts how good it was. And to this day, you know, however many years that is later, early 90s, it's frightening. You know, 30 plus years later, still playing this franchise, right? Now, this game, unfortunately, fell a little short of the mark for some reasons. Lots of modes. You know, there's the franchise mode, the season mode, the NHL 3s, which they've had for a while, which we finally played in this game, which I love. NHL 3s is a great mode. Be a Pro, that I've seen Jimmer playing that. It's like you create your player and then you come up through the minors and whatever, and you have to kind of manage every aspect of your character's kind of rise to hockey stardom, like doing interviews, talking to the coach after the game about your performance, talking to your teammates and deciding on what you're going to do in your off hours. Like, there's lots of shit that goes into it. And then, of course, you actually have to play the games. I'm not sure I have the time for that at this age, but it definitely is a really interesting mode. Similar to what I'm doing on WWE with the My Rise mode, where you're kind of up and coming and making your way up the ranks. But I find that, at least in WWE, there's more action than there is fucking around and talking, sort of thing. So so I'm a little more akin to playing that one than I would be a pro in NHL. And they, of course, added some new little things. There's the new goal animation for this one was the Zegras Milano, where the puck is flipped from behind the net over the net, and the guy in front of the net whacks it in, sort of thing. That was added. The thing, and other animations and little things that they've added. My favorite thing that they added was, and you've probably seen it the odd time if you watched our NHL 23 gameplay videos, but if your player's diving or falling or getting tripped or whatever, they can make like a desperation play on the puck, where they dive across and they whack it while they're lying on the ice to try and get it in the net. I really like that, because that's a realistic thing. Hockey players are pretty tenacious, and they don't give up even if they're falling on their ass and going headfirst into the boards. Their first thought is I won't protect myself, I'll try and get that fucking puck in the net if it's the last thing I do, right? So that was a really cool animation that happened to me a number of times in the game, and I loved it. And of course, the game looks great. It looks amazing. They just keep looking better and better every year. But in this game in particular, they missed the mark big time on the actual gameplay. If you watched our videos, you could probably hear me getting pissed off when I try to make just a clear-cut pass from my D zone up to the guy on the left wing, and the pass just fucking misses him by half a rink. And it's like, what? Like, I aimed it in that direction. Like, where the fuck did the game think I was sending that puck, right? So the passing was really inconsistent, and it just ruined the game, because you're trying to score goals, and this kind of ties in with one of the other downsides of the game, and you can't even get a breakout going. You're just turning the puck over and letting them come back with it because your guy can't fucking pass the puck properly. And exacerbating that is the fact that it seemed to be really hard to score goals on the other team, even if they had a shittier goalie. Whereas our goalie is just like, oh, he faced 6 shots and let in 3 goals. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? So how are we supposed to win a game if our goalie can't save a beach ball and our guys can't make a pass to our teammates? Like, it made this game into such a hard thing to play at times, and really irritated me. And it wasn't enough to completely ruin the game for me that I didn't want to play it or anything, but I got a lot of frustration out of this. And when we were finally done with the game, I was like, oh, thank God, you know. But it's just kind of disappointing because that shouldn't happen to this game at this point. They've had 32 installments of this game and over 30 years to kind of work out all the kinks, perfect what they want to do. They shouldn't be plagued by, you know, passes that can't hit players for whatever reason. Like, even if you're executing the move perfectly, you still don't complete a pass. That's ridiculous. That should not be happening at this point with how much time and experience they have with making these games. So that game to me was kind of 50-50, right? Like, I really enjoyed it on one hand and I really hated it on the other. So NHL 24 is, I think it's out now, or it's coming out very shortly. So I hope to get it at least by Christmas if I can find a sale on it. And hopefully they will have corrected any and all of the issues in NHL 23 going into NHL 24. Because if they keep sending out games that have these little duds in them, you know, obviously I'm going to buy it every year. Who am I kidding? But I'm not as excited to buy it every year if it's going to have these problems. Let's just say that. So anyways, I'm rambling on. It's what I do. I will shut up for your benefit right now. And I'm already working on the next 5 things I'm gonna let you know on. So hopefully you'll see this ugly mug back here soon enough. Have a good one. Meow.